She walked in like any guest, no entourage, no flashy jewelry, just calm confidence and a name that owned the building. But when the receptionist smirked and said, "Sorry ma'am, this hotel's fully booked," she had no idea who she just denied. What happens next? A phone call. 20 seconds. And then? The entire hotel scrambles. Security shifts. The manager stutters. And corporate VIPs sprint out of elevators like it's DEFCON 1. Why? Because the woman they just humiliated owns the entire chain. This isn't just a story about power, it's about what happens when quiet dignity meets loud ignorance. If you're ready for one of the most satisfying takedowns ever caught in story form, hit like, drop a in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that flip the script. Vanessa Cole, a 45-year-old black CEO, stepped out of a sleek black Cadillac Escalade that had just rolled up to the entrance of the Sterling Crown Hotel in Charlotte, North Carolina, a property she had personally built from the ground up. Her look was quiet and unassuming, worn in leather loafers, a sharp navy blazer layered over a soft cream sweater, and a beat-up canvas tote slung over her shoulder. No designer flash. No assistance. No dramatic arrival. Just a woman who owned the place, looking for a quiet night before a high-stakes board meeting. All she wanted was a key, a hot shower, and some silence. But the night had other plans. The hotel lobby glowed with polished marble and warm lighting, filled with soft murmurs and the clinking of cocktail glasses. Vanessa walked with purpose toward the front desk, where a young receptionist, Rachel Evans, 24, was seated with her hair in a messy bun and chipped polish on her nails. She barely glanced up. Checking in, Vanessa said calmly. "Cole, Vanessa," she added, with the same poise as if she were ordering coffee. Rachel's fingers paused on the keyboard. Her brow furrowed. "Sorry, ma'am. We're fully booked tonight. Reservations only." Her tone was polite but with an edge. The kind used to dismiss someone gently but firmly. Vanessa's smile didn't flinch. "There's always a suite held for me," she said with quiet confidence. Rachel blinked, then offered a small smirk. "Yeah, well, not tonight." The air shifted. Vanessa stood poised, her canvas tote hanging at her hip. Rachel leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, skepticism written all over her face. "No suite. No record. Maybe you've got the wrong hotel," Rachel added with a shrug, as if Vanessa were some lost tourist. Vanessa tilted her head. "This is the Sterling Crown, right? My name is on it literally." Rachel's smirk widened. A dry laugh escaped. "You're saying you own this place?" Her tone was loud enough to catch attention from across the lobby. Guests nearby paused mid-conversation. A man nursing a scotch glanced over from the bar. All eyes turned to Vanessa, silently questioning her. She didn't blink. "Call your manager," she said, her voice even, like she was asking for the time. Rachel hesitated, then picked up the phone. "Fine. But this is crazy," she muttered. Moments later, the manager, Derek Monroe, 38, appeared from the back office, clipboard in hand, forced smile on his lips. "Good evening, ma'am. Trouble with a booking?" he asked. "No trouble," Vanessa replied, holding his gaze. "I'm Vanessa Cole. I own this hotel." Derek blinked, visibly thrown off. Whispers moved through the room like static. He straightened, tugging at his tie. "Right. Let's take a look," he said, glancing at Rachel, who was now biting her lip nervously. Two hotel security guards subtly positioned themselves, one by the revolving doors, another near the espresso machine. Vanessa didn't move. Her shoes planted firmly on the marble floor. She'd been here before. She calmly reached into her tote, pulled out her phone, and made the call. Vanessa raised her phone to her ear, her face unreadable. Her voice, when she spoke, was low and razor-sharp. "This is Vanessa Cole. I've been denied entry to my own property, the Sterling Crown, Charlotte. Handle it. The call lasted 20 seconds. No anger. No dramatics. Just cold precision. She ended it, tucked the phone back into her canvas tote, and stood still. No pacing. No scowling. Just presence. And that presence made the entire lobby feel like it had shrunk. Manager Derek Monroe shifted his weight awkwardly, his clipboard now a flimsy prop. "We'll, need to verify some things," he said, trying to sound calm but glancing nervously toward the security guards. Rachel, behind the desk, wasn't typing anymore. She was staring. Staring at Vanessa like she was reprocessing the entire conversation. Across the lobby, a woman in a fur-lined coat subtly raised her phone, aiming her camera in their direction. A young man with a laptop nearby pretended not to listen, but his eyes were glued. Vanessa didn't flinch. She'd felt this tension before, the unspoken challenge, the soft hands on hard levers of control. But this time, she wasn't letting it play out. Behind her, the buzz of the lobby dulled. Background noise flattened beneath the tension crackling in the room. The music felt quieter. The air heavier. Rachel's fingers returned to the keyboard, tapping with visible frustration. "Still nothing under Cole," she said, louder this time. Her voice held on to authority she no longer had. Derek hurried into a side office. He returned moments later, face flushed, a folder in one hand, and his radio in the other. "Miss Cole," he stammered. "We're, just double-checking the system. Standard procedure." Vanessa's gaze slid past him to the brass emblem on the wall behind the desk. The Sterling Crown, a Cole Hospitality property. She gave a dry smile. "Take your time," she said. The guards lingered. Silent, alert. Vanessa didn't need to move. She knew exactly what was coming. Then came the sound that changed everything. Ding. The elevator at the far end of the lobby opened with a soft chime, and two men stepped out with purpose etched into every stride. Miles Trent, 50, Regional Vice President, immaculate in a tailored gray suit, and Caleb Ortiz, 42, District Manager, in a navy polo that clung to tension. Their arrival was a signal. Everyone in the lobby felt it. Rachel's fingers froze mid-keystroke. Derek took a half-step back. Vanessa didn't move. "Ms. Cole," Miles said, his voice tight, bypassing everyone as he beelined to her. "We are so sorry. This should never have happened." Caleb jumped in, breathless. "Your suite 1401 is ready. Cars on standby. Room service is already prepping breakfast. Avocado toast. Black coffee. Just the way you like it." Derek shuffled forward, folder slipping in his hands. I was just verifying." Miles didn't even glance at him. His glare was enough to silence the room. Rachel's smirk was gone. Her hands now rested in her lap, face pale, eyes wide. The power dynamic had flipped in an instant and she felt it in her bones. Vanessa surveyed the lobby with cool detachment. She wasn't angry. She didn't need to be. The point had already been made. "One phone call," she said, her voice calm, almost amused. That's all it took. Miles was already on his phone, barking instructions to corporate. Caleb was scrolling through his tablet, canceling meetings and rerouting staff. The security guard stepped back to the edges of the room, suddenly invisible. Across the lounge, a woman leaned toward her husband and whispered, "She owns this place." Rachel heard it. And this time, she didn't doubt it. Vanessa Cole had said who she was. And now everyone else believed it. The elevator doors closed behind her, sealing off the chaos below. Suite 1401 greeted Vanessa with polished restraint, floor-to-ceiling windows revealing Charlotte's evening skyline, the hush of soft lighting, and the scent of cedarwood laced in the air. Everything was in its place, crisp towels folded like origami, fresh sheets pulled tight, and on the table, a tray of avocado toast and black coffee, steam curling upward like an offering. Beside it, a note scribbled by someone from the kitchen, "We're sorry." Truly. Vanessa set down her tote, kicked off her loafers, and eased into the deep leather armchair by the window. From this height, the city glimmered like an illusion, beautiful, distant, unaware. She should feel victorious. But instead, something older stirred. Her mind slipped back 2 decades. Chicago, 2003. She was 25 then. The only black junior executive at a finance firm, walking 2 steps behind a VP who couldn't be bothered to learn her name. A hotel clerk had once handed her a mop, assuming she was housekeeping. She'd laughed it off that night. But the bruise never fully healed. Now she owned 15 hotels across the country. And still, she had to prove she belonged. Still had to repeat herself just to be seen. She picked up her phone. A new message from her assistant blinked across the screen. "Audit teams are active. Media draft ready if you want it to go wide." She stared at it. She could blow the whole thing open. Post the footage. Let Twitter drag every last one of them. But that wasn't her mission. This wasn't about rage or retribution. It was about truth. About legacy. About the foundation beneath every brick of the sterling crown. Vanessa took a sip of her coffee, strong, bitter. Just the way she liked it. Tomorrow, she'd do what she always did, walk back in. And change the room. At precisely 7 a.m., Vanessa Cole stepped back into the lobby of the Sterling Crown. Gone was the soft sweater and worn loafers. Today, it was a charcoal suit tailored to perfection, heels that clicked against marble like a metronome. Her presence sliced through the morning haze like sunlight through blinds. Travelers with roller bags paused mid-stride. A toddler dropped her juice box. Even the concierge straightened up. By the potted fern near the concierge desk, Miles Trent and Caleb Ortiz stood waiting, folders in hand, coffee untouched. They looked like they hadn't slept. Vanessa nodded once. "Let's go." She led them into a glass-walled meeting room just off the lobby. Inside sat Derek Monroe, tugging at his tie like it might choke him, and Rachel Evans, eyes fixed on her lap. An HR rep, Susan Bell, late 40s, composed and clipboard-ready, sat silently with her laptop open. Vanessa remained standing at the head of the table. Arms crossed. "Let's hear it," she said. Her tone was flat. Controlled. Unforgiving. Silence. Derek opened his mouth, closed it again. Rachel mumbled something unintelligible. Vanessa looked directly at her. "You didn't think I looked like the owner, right?" Rachel flinched. Vanessa leaned in slightly. "Was I rude? Loud? Did I threaten you?" Rachel shook her head. 3 quick no's. Vanessa turned to Susan. "I'm not here to fire anyone. But I am here to make sure this doesn't slide." Caleb cleared his throat. "Rachel's been written up. She's off the desk effective immediately. Derek's under review. Mandatory retraining starts today." Vanessa nodded slowly, then sat down, eyes locked on Derek. "How long have you worked here?" 2 years, he said, voice thin. "And you never learned my name?" He dropped his gaze. Vanessa turned to Rachel. "And you? How long have you been?" Rachel's voice was barely a whisper. 6 months. Vanessa's gaze didn't waver. "Ever wonder who built this place?" Rachel slowly shook her head. "I did," Vanessa said, her voice sharp but steady. 15 hotels. Coast to coast. I started this chain because I was tired of being overlooked. Tired of walking into places I owned and still being treated like I didn't belong." She paused. Let the weight of the words sink in. "Last night, you made me invisible in my own house." "Why?" Rachel's lip quivered. Her eyes welled. I just assumed, she stammered. I didn't think. Assumptions aren't harmless, Vanessa cut in. They cost people dignity, opportunity, trust. Rachel nodded, biting her lip, but the apology never made it past her throat. Vanessa sat back in her chair and turned to the executives. You're not firing them. But this is a reset. Miles spoke next, voice low. We're rolling out inclusivity training. All locations. No exceptions. Vanessa's jaw tightened. Make it real, she said. I don't want a room full of staff nodding through a slideshow. I want people who understand what respect looks like, especially when the guest doesn't look like me. Everyone in the room nodded. Susan scribbled notes. Caleb looked pale but focused. Vanessa stood again, slow and deliberate. This isn't about punishment, she said. It's about change. Real change. You don't figure that out, then you don't belong here. She didn't raise her voice once. But the room sat frozen, like she'd dropped a gavel. And in a way, she had. As she walked out, the air behind her didn't just settle. It shifted. By 9 a.m., Vanessa found Rachel Evans alone in the staff lounge, dim lights, old coffee scent in the air. She sat at a metal table, hands wrapped around a half-drunk latte like it was armor. Rachel looked up, startled. Vanessa pulled out a chair. Relax. This isn't round two. Rachel blinked. Why did you come find me? Vanessa leaned back. You ever feel small at a job? Rachel nodded slowly. I worked at a gas station off I-85. Got yelled at. Ignored. Invisible. Vanessa's voice stayed calm. Then you knew how it felt. So why'd you do it to me? Rachel's mouth opened, then closed. Her voice cracked. You didn't look like. What? Vanessa asked gently. Like an owner? Like someone who belongs? Rachel stared down at her cup. I'm sorry. I don't need sorry, Vanessa said. I need you to see people. She stood, adjusting her blazer. I started behind a desk too. Night shifts in Philly. Guests didn't use my name, they just pointed. That's why I built this company. So people like us could rise. Rachel looked up, eyes shining. You really started there? Vanessa nodded. First step. At noon, she checked out. The lobby bustled. Polished. Familiar. But different. In her tote was a folded note, thank you for seeing me. I'll do better. Rachel. Vanessa smiled faintly. Charlotte passed outside the window. A city on autopilot. But inside, the foundation had cracked. And something new was taking shape. Back in the management office, Vanessa sat with a stack of staff files. Her fingers tapped a steady rhythm against the desk. Across from her, Miles Trent paced near the window, phone buzzing. Caleb Ortiz typed furiously. HR Rep Susan Bell fine-tuned a presentation slide labeled Bias Disruption Training, Friday Rollout. I'm not here to tear this place down, Vanessa said quietly. I'm here to fix it. Caleb looked up. New hire filters, empathy screenings added. No more pattern bias. You're on the roster for surprise site visits next quarter. Vanessa smiled faintly. Keep them honest. She stood, slid the files forward. Training goes live Friday. Use real stories. Make it hit. Downstairs, a new desk clerk stood at attention when she passed, offering a quiet, "Good morning, ma'am." Vanessa returned the nod. The lobby looked the same, busy, polished, but now she could feel the fault lines shifting. In her tote, Rachel's handwritten note. Raw. Honest. Thanks for seeing me. I'll do better. Better than any press release. Later, In the back seat of a town car headed to the airport, Charlotte blurred past the skyline, strip malls, clouds hanging low. Vanessa held the note in one hand, her mind somewhere else. At 25, she had carried coffee to men who forgot her name. At 45, she still had to remind people whose name was on the deed. But she wasn't bitter. She was focused. There were more ceilings to break. And she would quietly, powerfully until the world caught up. Power isn't always loud. Sometimes, it walks in quietly, waits patiently, and lets the world expose itself. Vanessa Cole didn't need to shout, threaten, or demand. She stood her ground, made one call, and let the truth rearrange the room. Because real respect isn't given based on outfits, skin tone, or assumptions, it's earned by how you carry your name. So to anyone who's ever been underestimated, then show the. Thank you so much for watching. If this story moved you in any way, drop a comment, we'd love to hear from you. And don't miss the next video, another powerful story is waiting for you there. See you soon.